Robert Johnson swam regularly at a local YMCA. One day, a lifeguard asked him for an inspirational quote to copy on the blackboard for the visitor to read. After thinking for a moment, Robert suggests a quote from an Indian wisdom book. Robert says, "By standing still, we overtake those who are running." A teenager listening to the conversation between Robert and the lifeguard says, "No way!" The teenager walked over to the blackboard and wrote, "Go, go, go." This incident highlights what Robert has observed, that we live in a go, go, go society. Johnson shared this story in the book Living Your Unlived Life, which he co-authored with Ruhl. Johnson and Ruhl published this book in 2007. Living Your Unlived Life develops the themes that Johnson raised in his book, Owning Your Own Shadow. I have made 3 videos on this book. You can check out the link above. In this video, I will discuss 4 questions related to living your unlived life. First, what is the crisis that this book is describing? Second, what are the factors that led to this crisis? Third, how do we benefit from this crisis? Fourth, what are some exercises that the book recommends for handling the crisis? First, let me begin with what is the crisis that this book is describing. Johnson's story highlights the fact that many people from birth to midlife spend their life go, go, go. This go, go, go is necessary when we are young. When we are young, we focus on achieving our goals, such as pursuing a successful career or raising our families. All these goals are necessary when we start out in life. When we reach midlife, somewhere between 40 to 50 years old or earlier, we begin to wonder if there is more to life than this. Our inner persons begin to search for what is authentic, true, and meaningful. We begin to question ourselves whether we have overlooked something or missed something that our hearts yearn for. A sense of disappointment or dissatisfaction with our life may arise from our inner person that we cannot shake it off. We may try to deal with our nagging disappointment or dissatisfaction by getting more of what we already achieved, such as having more fame, money, achievement, or marital affairs. Despite all these attempts, we cannot shake off the nagging disappointment or dissatisfaction with ourselves. This nagging disappointment or dissatisfaction may tempt us to break our marriage or storm out of our job in desperation or blame our children for our symptoms. Even if we do not do such thing, we become vulnerable to new doubts and anxieties and moods. Johnson and Ruhl identify this crisis as confrontation with our unlived life. What is our unlived life? Our unlived life is our unchosen life. Johnson and Ruhl writes, "For everything you choose or that has been chosen for you, something else is unchosen. For instance, we may choose to work in our family business and give up our passion in sport. Our passion in sport becomes the unchosen thing in our life. This unchosen thing will never leave us, but become shadowy desires in our lives. When we reach midlife, this unchosen thing is what causes the crisis. This unchosen thing is asking for our attention, even though we have an outer life filled with good things of this world. The unchosen things may stir up regrets, discontent, anger, or may make us feel cheated by the circumstances we find ourselves in. We all have both a lived and unlived life. Let us explore further what are the factors that split our life into lived and unlived life. Before we explore, you can remove the split in my video by giving it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. The second question is, what are the factors that led to this crisis? When we understand the factors, we will have a better handle to confront our unlived life. As children, we begin life whole. When we grow towards adulthood, we develop an identity which we call ego. Our identity comes from the choices we make based on the direction that family, society, and tradition dictate to us. While growing up, we chose to conform to the current dominant social norms and conventions. If we do not conform, we will not fit into the society. We will not have a career or or establish financial stability or raise a family. Thus, it is necessary to make choices that lead us to conform to society expectations. This conformity to society expectation becomes our lived life or ego. Although it is necessary to conform to society expectation, three problems subvert this conformity. First, the unchosen options in our life do not go away from us. These unchosen options become our unlived life or shadows. Certainly, there are negative etiquette that we should not choose because they harm us and others around us. However, many of the unchosen things are not necessarily harmful, but are rejected based on the current dominant social values and conventions. For instance, some have unchosen their innate artistic or musical qualities to choose an engineering or sporting career. They make this choice because the society or family downplays the artistic qualities and promote their choices. Whether they decide out of pragmatism or respect for family, the unchosen qualities become their unlived life. The unlived life is what causes the trouble when we reach midlife. Johnson and Ruhl observed that whatever you decide to do with your life kicks energy into what you decided not to do. The energy of the unlived life needs to be expressed, not in a destructive manner, but in ways that will harness this energy for a greater fulfillment in our lives. Of course, no one can live out all of life possibilities, but there are key aspects of our unlived life that must be released. By exploring what is unlived, we will gain new vitality and energy to achieve wholeness in our midlife until the end of life. Later, we will look at how to express our unlived life to create a more satisfying life. Second, social norms are relative. When we are young, our parents and our culture will shape who we become and what is relegated to the shadow world of unlived life. Our culture will designate what we pay attention to and what we ignore. We learn to take in some things and dismiss others. Thus, our culture will instill a one-sidedness in us. The problem with one-sidedness in every human culture is that it is relative. For instance, in Western culture, burping loudly at a dinner table is considered rude. On the other hand, burping in many Asian places is good because it means the food is delicious. Here is another example. If we walk into St. Peter Basilica in Rome without shoes, we will be thrown out. On the other hand, if we walk into a temple in India, we must remove our shoe before entering. These differences show that cultural values are relative and changeable. Third, there is more than one side to any human personality. One side of our personality may cling to safety and predictability in life. The other side may hunger for a fun and spontaneous activity and risk-taking adventure. Both sides have their values, but we may choose predictability over risk-taking adventure. Depending on individuals, we choose to give up many good things such as a new business venture or career or research studies because we want safety and predictability. Thus, whatever we have unchosen before midlife may haunt us at midlife. At midlife, our aching bodies will contribute to a mental shift from time since birth to time left until death. This mental shift will stir up an uneasy feeling that time is running out, while something essential is still missing because we have unchosen them previously. This uneasy feeling comes from our unlived life or our unchosen life. If we ignore this uneasy feeling, we remain restless and may miss the opportunity to greater wholeness and fulfillment in the second half of life. This brings us to our third question. Third, how do we benefit from this crisis? There are at least three things we can do to benefit from this crisis. First, always be honest with yourself. If we want to benefit from this crisis, we must slow down to have an honest conversation with ourselves. When we are confused or feeling restless, the best prescription is to simply sit down and be still. We do not have to set aside a significant amount of time to be still. It can be 5 minutes or 60 minutes or anything in between this range. In the stillness, we reflect, contemplate, and have an honest conversation with ourselves. For instance, you can identify your feelings inside you and ask your inner self what is stirring up these feelings. Or you can ask, who am I? Or what is the purpose of my life? When we are honest with ourselves, we become conscious of who we are. and what we need. We may not fully like who we are now, but our consciousness of who we are will open the door for us to compensate what we have unchosen. Second, we use creative imagination to live our unlived life. In benefiting from the crisis, we do not have to make drastic changes to our identities. We find alternate ways to incorporate our unlived life with our lived life. There is no fixed formula to find alternate ways except creative imagination. Creative imagination means using the power of imagination in finding a creative way to live your unlived life. This approach requires us to give time and concentration and have an open mind and a willingness to adapt or sacrifice our conscious viewpoint in finding creative ways. For example, Johnson and Ruhl share a story of a couple who love to travel and visit cultural centers. When they chose to start a family, they find their life turned upside down. They miss their travel and time together in exploring places. After talking about the unchosen aspect of their life, the husband discovered that they could travel in small scales. They found time to take 2 excursions together while the grandparents watched over the baby. This experience took away the resentment that was building up due to their choice to start a family. Such creative imagination requires us to find time to be still in reflecting and contemplating, in finding alternate ways to live our unlived life. Third, we aim for a good death. After a certain number of years, each of us will die. This is inevitable. While death is inevitable, we do not have to die aimlessly. A life directed to a goal and purpose is far healthier and richer than an aimless life. The second half of our life will be healthier and meaningful if we set the goals of having a good death. What is a good death will depend on the needs of individuals. One way to have a good death is to live out some aspect of our unlived life through balanced playfulness. Balanced playfulness means we do the things that we enjoy, such as travels, sports, or any activities where we let down our heads. This playfulness is not youthful wild recklessness, but wise enjoyments. Depending on individual, we can write, paint, debug a computer program, invent some gadgets, tune an engine, do pottery, sports, and many more according to one's unlived passions. All these things draw upon our capacity to play. We use them to achieve the goal of a good death. Johnson and Ruhl have other suggestions that we can use to benefit from this crisis. I find the above 3 suggestions most meaningful for me. This discussion brings me to the 4th question. What are some exercises that the book recommends? Living Your Unlived Life has 10 chapters. Each chapter has more materials for reflection than what this video covers. I will encourage you to read the book. You can see the links in the description below. Each chapter ends with an exercise or 2 that you can use for your own reflection. Chapter 1 is realizing our full promise and potential. You can use their inventory of unlived life to examine your life. Chapter 2 is divided we become as we grow up. Growing up, our culture will split us into lived life, which is our ego, and unlived life, which is our shadows. Since we have an ego and a shadow, the exercise assists us to discover our hidden life. Chapter 3 is midlife, the call to greatness. At midlife, we may find ourselves dissatisfied, but do not know the cause. The exercise helps you to find out where you are stuck in life. Chapter 4 is learning the timeless art of being. All of us have an inner being that we may have ignored. There are 2 exercises to help you discover your inner being and true self. Chapter 5 is symbolic life, cursing our one-sidedness. Since we are split into ego and shadow, we need creative imagination to find a solution to mend this split. The exercise in this chapter helps you to discover the creative way to express your unlived qualities. Chapter 6 is active imagination, talking back to ourselves. When we discover thoughts and images inside us that challenge our identity, we must have a conversation with them. This exercise helps you talk it over with yourself. Chapter 7 is dreaming our dreams on. Our dreams are cruel to our unlived life that we have suppressed. The exercise is called dream incubation. We prepare ourselves before sleeping to receive our dreams. Chapter 8 is 2 essential archetypes for maturity. The 2 archetypes are the eternal youth and the wise elder. Maturity is balancing both archetypes in our life. When we reach midlife, the wise elder is probably in full control over us. The exercise is to help your eternal youth to discover and follow what you love. Chapter 9 is uniting life oppositions. Every good quality comes as virtue and vice. The exercise is to help you to mend the split of virtue and vice in every good quality. Chapter 10 is returning home and know it for the first time. There is no exercise in this chapter. The chapter ends with a challenging quotation. Live in the service of something higher and more enduring, so that when the tragic transience of life at last breaks upon you, you can feel that the things for which you have lived for does not die. This poem points to the goal of a good death. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Send this link to your friends to encourage them. Subscribe to this channel for future updates. Thank you for watching.